Okay. Well, welcome back to another episode of You're Where with Who, the show where we sit down with emerging artists and talk about their music journeys and careers in the music industry. Today, we get to sit down with Sadie Lee, songwriter and singer from Philadelphia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah,
Happy to have
great to
you.
have Jinx, you got me a soda.
Okay, fine. I think I can do that for you, Oos. I got you.
Well, I like to begin. It seems like you started releasing music very early in your career, as early as 2010, if I believe. How did you start making music so early on in your life? What inspired that?
You guys really did the deep dive. This is crazy. I haven't had anybody know about my past when it comes to releasing, which is really, really cool.
Usman's so good at the deep dives, preemptively. We
Seriously.
want to know.
Seriously. No, I haven't had anybody probably since 2010 talk about that song, but my dad actually just texted me about it last night, which is really, really funny and odd
Okay.
that you guys are bringing it up now. But speaking of him, that's sort of how I got into music at such a young age. My dad was a singer, piano player, writer, kind of everything. And growing up, I just wanted to be like him. I was always really drawn to music. So I always found myself writing. I used to assume that everybody wrote songs and that everybody wanted to do music because of how badly I wanted to do it and because of how many ideas I just had pouring out of me to the point where it got annoying. I was like, there's a lot in my head right now. I want it out. But yeah, I think my dad was really the one who showed me the way and inspired me to do music. And yeah, I did release a song. It's called Peace. I think I released it in fourth grade. And that was my first release ever. I don't even know if you can find it. If you can find it, did you find it?
I didn't find it. No. But yeah.
We just know of it.
Yeah, I
We
know
know
of
it
it.
exists. Like the Loch Ness Monster. It's
Yeah,
out there. We just
It's out
can't
there.
exactly.
locate it.
It's out there.
Exactly. I
But now I'm
honestly,
going to find it.
honestly, I was going to say $1,000 prize to anybody who can find that on the
Oh
internet.
my gosh.
It's called Peace, though. I wrote it, I think, when I was 8 and released it when I was 9 or something like that. And that was my intro to the world of releasing music and doing music as more than just a hobby, having some sort of end goal. And in between then and my actual first release was probably about 12 years, which is crazy.
That's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about getting into it from such a young age and the inspiration from your family, from your dad in particular. I have to think, especially from being an 8-year-old, right? Like, I definitely, with my ADD brain, I can empathize with the feeling of like constantly having thoughts running through your head and like, oh my gosh, too much in here, gotta get it out.
Mhm.
I think it's so cool that you mentioned that you thought everybody must have this feeling of wanting to do music
Mhm.
and it not being that way.
It's funny to me because even still, I talk to my coworkers. I work retail. I was just doing that earlier before this call. And even when I'm doing a mindless task, I just have little melodies and little lyrics pop into my head. And sometimes I'll run into the bathroom and record a little voice memo or something. But I was doing that at a young age. And I don't know, I think it was a helpful thing as a little girl to be able to have an outlet. I think a lot of people, they have certain outlets. People have sports, people have a lot of different things. And I think music was just always my outlet and it hasn't really changed.
What kind of topics were coming up for you I mean, obviously you started really, really young. So, I mean, what actually in your day to day do you feel inspired the things that came to you?
So my first song ever, I don't remember writing, but my parents tell me I was 2 and it was about Winnie the Pooh. So he was a big old
Okay.
inspiration apparently. Yeah, so Winnie the Pooh, first ever topic of inspiration. But then I wrote that song Peace about just the world and wanting to bring peace to people and thinking that the world needed a little bit more peace, love, and happiness in it. And it's just about treating people well and working together. It's a really sweet song. I wish I had that sweetness in my lyrics now. I feel like they're all a little bit jaded and cynical, but there's just such a pureness to it. But I used to write about a lot of the things I struggled with too. I used
Mhm.
to write about the worries that I had, the fears that I had. I had another song. This is really funny talking about this because I never talk about this. But I had a song called No One Ever, and it was just like the whole hook was no one ever died from trying. Like just give it your best shot and you might not be the best at it, but just go for it. And I think I wrote about things I didn't quite know how to navigate, and I think through writing I figured it out, which is a cool thing for an 8-year-old to do.
Yeah. It's incredibly, I mean, the insight to have at such a young age is so incredible,
Thank you.
truly, to be able to put that out there. And I feel like in so many ways, we've kind of talked about this
Hmm.
conceptually on the show before, that like music almost being a form of therapy and writing
100%.
being such a
Yeah.
form of therapy. Um, and clearly, wow. I mean, I'm interested a little bit more. You talk about the difference between like, not that that's the wrong way to phrase it. I was going to say like the positivity and joyfulness when you
Hmm.
were like younger, but kind of changing a little bit of maybe your style, maybe the conversation piece of what you're actually singing about. So take us
Yeah.
through the evolution a little bit.
I love that. Yeah, I think as a young kid, I was writing almost what I needed to hear and advice for myself and things like that. And it was uplifting, because I think when you're a kid, you don't know about the horrors of the world all that much yet, or if you're lucky. You don't, and I don't think I knew a lot. And I had these simple thoughts of, well, why aren't people peaceful and why aren't people loving towards one another? And that's what I would write about. And I had these really pure messages. And I think as anybody gets older, especially being a woman, you get to uncover some of the horrors of the world, and they're not necessarily fun. And I think that really informed my writing because I still was using writing as a tool to navigate the world and especially navigate my emotions, but it became a bit darker. I used it, to navigate my mental health, to navigate relationships. Honestly, like I think every young woman does. That was my outlet, was actually writing it. So now I have this little evolution in writing of me working through my thoughts, which is really funny. But as of late, I think I've gone a bit more introspective. I took a lot of time to write about relationships, a lot of my teenage years, college years, as one does. You write about relationships. I mean, that's such a heavy set of emotions, that comes with relationships. But I think my more recent songs have been a lot about myself and the way that I see myself and the way that I want to be. I just released a song called Please that is sort of about the balance of light and dark in a person, or good and evil in a person, and wanting to take out the bad from yourself and just kind of feeling guilty, feeling like you're a bad person and you don't know what to do about it. So one of the lines, it talks about wanting to separate the good from the bad, almost like separating shadows off a wall. Like it's impossible. You have to,
Right.
like the stimulus is what changes it. But yeah, I think I've learned to write about the same concepts, honestly, as I did when I was a kid, just finding maybe cooler ways to write about them. But I think a lot of the concepts, I mean, they're the same things I thought about as a kid, which is kind of cool.
It sounds like it's really just the evolution of you that's
Yeah.
coming through in your writing throughout the years. Do you think that your perspectives on a lot of these things have changed across the years, and that's something that your listeners can hear when they hear your newer stuff?
Definitely. I think I've actually had people come up to me and say this, which I think is really cool. Even from the stuff I released 2 years ago to the stuff I'm releasing now, people have said they hear not only sonically a difference, but maturity wise, they hear a difference in the way that I was talking about relationships, the way that I was talking about myself. I released an EP called Skin back in 2023, and I love it. I'm proud of it. I think it represents me from age 18 to, do I think that's when I wrapped it. But compared to the music I'm making now, which I just released Please last month, and then I'm releasing Mama Knows on April 2nd, which I'm excited about, they just represent a bit more maturity in the way that I talk about things. And I think it's interesting. I think it was really cool. It was one of the coolest compliments I've ever received to have people listen to my music then and then listen to it now and say, wow, I hear growth.
I mean, to have listeners with you from that young of an age, especially to see you
Mhm.
start off like that, it's like sending your child off to college almost, It's like sending them off. Look at their evolution now.
I love that.
It's true. It's true. That is super, super cool.
I am that type of person where my songs are like my children and I get so attached to them, especially this EP, which honestly I can send you guys after the call. It's not released yet, but we have an
Love
EP
to.
that I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm the type, I like to, like, if I buy somebody a birthday present, I want to give it to them as soon as I buy it. I'm like,
Me
nope,
too.
we're not waiting. Yeah.
I'm
I
the
love,
same way. I'm so bad at presents.
yeah,
I'm like, I gotta give
I
this to you right now.
I love people like that. And I'm the same
Like,
way where
yeah.
I'm dying to give it to you and I'm dying to put out these songs and it feels like a birthday present. And I'm not saying, oh, these songs are so great. They're like a present to you all, but I just I'm so proud of them. And I'm really for the first time, I think it takes a while, speaking about my childhood, it really takes a while to find your sound, to find a way that, you can write and be vulnerable and still feel comfortable about it. And I really feel like I found it, which is a cool thing. Because I think for a while I was struggling in a lot of departments of my life, and I feel like it's all coming together, which is cool.
How did you get to that point of finding it? Because some people still struggle with it. So maybe if there's any advice you could give to others who are probably going through down the same path
Yeah.
to get in there.
A lot of struggles and a lot of mistakes, and just accepting it. I think honestly, my biggest advice to people, I used to be the type of person who would strive and strive and strive for these unattainable goals. And I valued my accomplishments and I valued the way that I looked. And those were the two things I held on a pedestal, on two pedestals. I said, I love to just strive for these crazy goals and I want to care about the way that I look to the point where it's consuming me. And when I cared about those two things was when I was at my lowest. So I think my biggest advice to anybody, any artist, and honestly, any person would be decenter those things from your life. Take the accomplishments off of the pedestal, take your appearance off of the pedestal. Because I found that when I would set these lofty goals, even if I did achieve them, I never took the time to be proud of myself. I always just thought, okay, what's next? What am I going to chase next? What am I going to do? So that's over. What am I going to do next? And same with your appearance. I mean, we see you can get work done and all it does is make you want more work done. Or you can, change stuff about yourself, but you still look in the mirror and you pick it apart. And I think I did that to myself. I thought one thing was going to fix me and I found three other things I wanted to fix. So I think taking those off of the pedestals that you might put them on is the best advice I can give you because it creates freedom. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm going to care about my experiences and the way that I treat people. And I don't know, it's just a really freeing thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's like looking in a mirror, like everything that you're saying. Like, first, we start with the gift thing. I'm like, I ruin people's gifts immediately. I'm like, I'll text
Yeah.
my friends around Christmas. I'm like, hey, just got you something. Like, I'm getting ready to send it to you. But, like, do you want a hint? Like, do you want to know what it's
I
gonna be?
love
And
that.
they're like, no. It's like, but I tell you
Wait,
anyway.
I love that. We literally need to hang out. Like, we need to hang out.
Absolutely. I would love that. We are for sure gonna
I
sit.
love that.
And I have felt, especially, I think you make a really good point you mentioned a couple minutes ago, especially feeling it from a female perspective. It's interesting, in kind of where the world is, and I think the pressures that are sometimes put on all people, but specifically with things like looks on young women to to
Mhm.
kind of reach this unattainable, like, you need to fit into a certain mold, you need to look a certain way, you have to have certain accomplishments, otherwise you're not deemed worthy enough and you're not
Mhm.
deemed good enough in the world. And I think that that's why there's so many struggles with mental health and, with people's beliefs and feelings about themselves that kind of can develop just from a young age and from being out in the world. So I completely understand that and agree with the fact that, like, it's a very fleeting feeling when
Mhm.
you're like, you hit this goal and you're like, oh my gosh, wanted this for so long, feel like I attained it. And then it's like, that never sticks around, right? Like 10
Exactly.
minutes later, you're like, what's the next thing? And I mean, I can only imagine, especially with songwriting and creating this music that is such a big piece of yourself and such a big outlet, like to kind of put it in a box of like, I need to hit this goal. I need to hit this,
Mhm.
like just completely stifling you.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point because music is such a vulnerable and personal thing. And I think something I've done is I'm a very competitive person by nature. I'm a runner. I grew up, I was doing track and cross country and I wanted medals and I wanted to see the numbers and I wanted to know that I did well. I
Mhm.
always, gave my worth a lot. I gave that, a lot of my worth. But I think something I've done is separate, like, music is not a competitive thing for me. Music is an outlet. Like, I don't know. I think it's really easy to compare yourself. And I've really, really tried my best. I haven't always succeeded, but I think stopping the comparisons when it comes to music and stopping the competitiveness has really helped me because it made it not fun when I started doing music for the sake of, oh, well, what's everybody else doing and how can I beat that? I realized that's not my approach to music, and it might be some people's approach. And honestly, they might be successful because a lot of the time being cutthroat and competitive gets you success, and that's great. But I realized I didn't like the process anymore, and I wasn't writing to write. I was writing to beat what was out
Mhm.
there, and it wasn't authentic. So
Yeah. It like almost loses the authenticity, like you said, and the originality of what
yeah,
the actual art is that you're
yeah.
creating. I completely understand that.
Music as a business is a tough thing. I try to keep it in art, and you got to dabble into the business side of it, but I
Right.
try to separate them. I don't let them get too muddy.
How do you find yourself navigating that? Of course, like the music industry is something you become involved with, once you're an artist and once you're out there and trying to get your music out to as many people as possible. But how do you keep them separate in a sense?
My biggest thing throughout, honestly, the past 10 years has been rejecting anyone who straight up tells me how to look, what kind of music I should make. Like if someone is already trying to put me in a box, I'm sorry, you might be a great, coworker, manager, mentor for someone, but it's just not for me. I honestly think staying true to myself and knowing that if I put all my work into it and all my effort and all my time, even if I'm not making the type of music that's viral on TikTok right now or that everyone else wants, I think just reminding myself, and this takes a lot of external reminders too. Like my parents are reminding me and my sisters are reminding me, but just reminding myself that if I put enough work in and if I believe in something, it will happen solely
Mhm.
because like I am willing to work at this for years and years and years. And it might be, a slow route, but sometimes I feel like the slow routes are the careers that last. Yeah, I also think having a lot of good mentors around me is really helpful for that in not slipping too far into the businessy competitive side of it. I've had a lot of strong women in my life who have shown me that, being true to who you are and just being a kind person will always win. And so, yeah, I think that's been helpful. Shout out to my mom.
Shout out
She's
to
the best.
mom.
She's the
I
best.
love it.
Speaking
Oh,
of, Mama knows.
yay.
Mama knows. That's my song. My song is called Mama Knows, and boy does she. Boy does she know.
Is the song about your mom? I know it's titled that, but is
So it's not, which is kind of misleading, but I introduce the song and I say the song's called Mama Knows because she does. But it's kind of just a figure of speech in the chorus. It is a little bit about, my mom helping me navigate things, but for the most part, it's about a relationship that's kind of torn between two places. Almost, when you associate a place with a person and then you leave the place and you leave the person and you can't go back to the place because you're like, ah, it reminds me of you,
Yeah.
and you're going to somewhere new and you're like, I want to bring you with me, but this has to be my new journey and I'm going to leave you there. It's an odd song. I don't even think I knew what I was writing it about until I went home and kind of dissected my own lyrics that I had written, and I thought that's what I wrote. But I wrote it a couple years ago, so it's been a minute for this song, but she's finally getting her time.
nice.
Amazing. How thrilled are you?
I'm really excited. I think it marks the release from last month and then the release in 5 days. Really, I think they mark a shift in Sonic too, which I'm
Mhm.
excited about. And this song is a bit more rock heavy. It's got this huge bridge outro type thing that I'm just really excited about. I hope people are excited about it as I am.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
guaranteed that from everything that you've said, like the listeners can feel your how genuine you are. They can feel the authenticity through you and your writing. So I'm guaranteed that it's going to be amazing. I'm super interested in hearing a little bit more for somebody listening to the show right now that doesn't say that they've never listened to you before. If you had to describe kind of the style wise, of where you started versus kind of the evolution of your eras, if you will. How has that transition happened?
So I started off as a child making childish music, and I think it was
Winnie the
sweet.
Pooh
Winnie
songs.
the Pooh, actual children's music. But if we're talking the stuff that I released, I think it started off in a sort of pop soul. maybe a little bit of R&B, white girl R&B, as R&B as I can get.
Yeah.
But I think I think it started in that sort of lane. Like Amy Winehouse, Corinne Bailey Rae, maybe a little bit of Joss Stone, kind of that pop soul lane. And I think it had a lighthearted sonic vibe and that also sort of intertwined with a lighthearted lyric. I think now we've gone a little bit darker in every way. We've experienced more things and experienced more things that maybe we didn't want to experience, and we're reflecting on it. And so I think I've gone a little bit more rock. We've strayed from the pop, strayed from the R&B. I think the soul is what bridges the two together.
Hmm.
It's still got elements of soul, but it just ties them with rock and more experimental indie type stuff, which I'm really excited about. And reference wise, I've been listening to a lot of Pink Floyd. Honestly, for years and years, I've been listening to Pink
Yeah.
Floyd, but I
I
think it's
love Pink
finally
Floyd.
coming out. It's finally coming out in my music, which is really cool. I love Radiohead. I love Fiona Apple. Talk about a woman who knows how to write. Her lyrics have inspired me a whole lot. Um, and yeah, and we'll see where it goes from here. The EP, no one's really heard it yet besides my family, but something I'm kind of excited about is all of the songs are in chronological order of when I wrote them, and the same goes for the EP that I released in 2023. So if you were to just listen through, and I'm thinking maybe I'll continue this, maybe I won't. I feel like since I've done it, I should continue it, but we'll see what works with the Sonic. But I do think it's kind of cool if you listen to the old EP and then you listen to the new EP. It's just a chronological progression of my writing, and you can actually hear. I think you can kind of hear what gets carried over from song to the next or from project to the next. So yeah, a little listening experiment for any of you who do have the EP. If I've sent it to you, listen front to back.
I take it that was an intentional choice then.
Yeah.
It was. So it was and it wasn't. I remember I had sent it to a friend of mine and I said, I have no idea what order I want these songs to be in. This is the first EP, Skin. I sent it to him. I said, I don't know what order I want. I had an order I thought I wanted, but I wasn't happy with it. He sends it back to me and I'm like, oh my God, you put them in chronological order. And then I listened through and I said, this just makes sense. Like story wise, sonically, there's a balance between, super up tempo versus a more slow, powerful thing, and I really liked it. So then when it came to this EP, same thing. I'm like, I don't know what to do, but then I just took it upon myself to say, why don't we keep it chronological? And I don't know why. It just, to me, it's the best order for the songs to be in.
Yeah. It feels like maybe
Fair.
there's more flow to it in
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah,
sense.
definitely.
Is a
That there's
story
go
within,
ahead. Ruth.
yeah,
Hmm.
you could view it as a story as people are listening to it. You're taking them on a journey through your album.
I
And
love that.
by doing that, they can get an understanding of like who you are and what kind of what you went through creating the EP from that as well.
I
So
love that.
I think that'd be amazing.
Thank you.
I think it's cool, especially when you look at like I know you mentioned like social media and like the things that are kind of like trendier and stuff like that. We've talked about that at length with a lot of different great artists on our show and like the perspectives of kind of doing the more popular routes to
Hmm.
things. I feel like you hear a lot of artists nowadays saying like I would like to record an EP or I'd like to do an entire album, but it's just not going to happen because
Right.
singles are so much easier in a sense. What do you think about that?
I think, like a lot of things, I try to find a balance because the music I gravitate towards when I listen to music, I'm not a playlist girl. I like to just listen to an album top down. So when it comes to making my own music, immediately I'm like, I want to make an album and I want to make a concept album. I love The Wall by Pink Floyd. I
I
love,
love the wall, you're me. I'm gonna say, if you tell me Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 is one of your favorite tracks, I'm like, we are one.
wait, this is crazy actually. But yeah, that is
This is entertaining for me because I'm just watching
crazy.
and then
Wait, I
I
love
know,
it.
I
yeah,
know. We're separated at birth, long lost sisters.
Seriously, seriously. No, I love this so much. Yeah, I love a concept album. I love something that tells a story. Like you said, listening chronologically can help kind of tell the story. And I think I love that in music. And I think with singles, they're punchy, they're good for radio, they're good for TikTok, but they're a little bit disjointed. You lose the story. So if I had it my way entirely, I'd be making albums and I'd be churning them out and I'd be releasing them. But I think I try to find a balance where, okay, maybe monetarily, I can't be making an album every 6 months and releasing it, especially at the stage I am now where, my streams come from my friends and family, and that's great. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. I have confidence, but I think I need to stay within what I know I can do, what I know I can afford, what I know I have the time for, what I know I can promote. So I think EPs, at least so far, have been good for me because the first EP was 5 songs. It's palatable. Like it's palatable. It's like it's like a mini album,
Hmm.
just not the financial commitment. And there's less of a risk. Say I release an EP and it gets 12 streams. Well, we tried, but if I were to release a 14-song album and it
Mhm.
does nothing, it's just, you know, there's so much time and energy that goes into something. Although I must say, I do think about this a lot with a lot of my favorite artists, even when you find them and they blow up. Somebody like Chapel Roan or somebody like Sabrina Carpenter. Something that's really fun is to go back and look at their discography that you might have missed. Like, say you jump on in 2024 or 2025, but they've been making music for 7 years. It is kind of cool to see what they have that you didn't even know about. So I do think about that angle too. But I think I stay right in the middle. And one day I will make my glorious concept album that I've been dreaming of.
We can't wait to see it. Can
No.
you tell us a little bit about what this glorious concept album's gonna be like?
Oh, I don't even have an idea. I just
You
know that
said
I
you don't
want to.
know.
Yep.
It's just happening.
I don't even know. Listen, since I was a kid, I've just had a lot of lofty ideas, and they're not even all synthesized. I think this is my least synthesized, but most certain goal is to make a concept album. I was a nut in college. Freshman year of college, I would listen to The Wall at least once a day. It was like
That's
my
impressive.
yeah, I don't know why.
That's
I don't
crazy.
know. Somebody can diagnose me, whatever that means. But I was like, okay, did I listen to The Wall yet? No. Oh, like if I had a problem, say I was upset about something, I would just listen to The Wall and it would show me out. I think just because it's so powerful and it really transports me. And I don't know, I like music that transports me.
That's
But
such
yeah.
like a I mean, The Wall was such a like Pink Floyd as a whole, I feel completely carved out their own lane
Oh, 100%.
in the rock funk kind of field. So
Hmm.
that entire piece of art was just something so different. I
Yeah.
love that like I'm really envisioning you with like Google Calendar notifications going off like wall time. Like
Did I listen to
gotta go.
But I'm like itching. I'm like, oh, I didn't listen to The
I forgot to
Wall.
listen. I forgot to listen to The Wall today.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had this t-shirt that my dad gave me that I used to wear all the time to the point where it was this graphic and it got all cracked and it was
Mm,
peeling off. So I actually have it folded and it's sitting on my little bureau right now and I want to frame it. I want to frame it because she is retired. She cannot be worn anymore. She can't
I
be washed. But I want to hang her on my wall because it's a symbol of my freshman year of college. That album got me through so much, which is funny. It's not necessarily everything that a teenage girl would relate to, but
not
for whatever
necessarily,
reason, for
but I
whatever
mean,
reason, it did the trick.
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your dad. It seems like I
Yeah.
read that your family is involved heavily in your music as well. How did that come to be? I know you mentioned that your dad like was your inspiration to start. What transpired to make sure that like everyone in your family was involved in some way?
I love that. You really did the deep dive, and I love that so much. But yeah, so my dad was sort of the catalyst and the reason why I did music. And I grew up, I didn't really take lessons all that much, and I didn't study music necessarily, but I learned music through experience. My dad, when I was maybe 13, 14, would just say, "Hey, come join my gig," and I would sing, on street corners or in bars or in restaurants or at weddings or whatever gig he was doing. We did corporate events, we did all these different gigs. I remember one time my I think sophomore or junior year of high school, I missed school to go to a gig and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I'm a rock star. And it was some corporate private event, but I thought I was such a rock star
That's
for it.
incredible.
But so that was always just a natural progression of like, he sort of cultivated me and helped me be the artist that I am. Um, and I think, we kind of balanced off each other. And to this day, he's still the number one person that I write with. But I think involving my whole family, it was never a conscious choice. It was what I wanted to do and where I naturally gravitated towards because I'm very much, speaking of shutting out the scary industry people who try to mold you. I think the most natural thing for me was always to keep my circle really small in terms of who I work with, who I write with, just who I surround myself with, honestly, in general. And my family was just always there, and they were always the people that I knew had my best interest in mind. Plus, I trusted their vision, I trusted their creativity, I trusted their work ethic. So it kind of just fell into place. My older sister does a lot of my visuals, which is really fun, and she also sings backup for me. Um, and my little sister, she's sung backup on a handful of shows too, which is really cool. My
It's such
mom
a
on
family affair
Yeah.
for you. I love
it
this.
it is, and it's funny. It was never a conscious like, let's form a family band,
Mhm.
but it was more just like, okay, let's, all hands on deck, let's do this. But my mom, it's funny, she has no interest in being on stage, has no interest in singing, but she's at every single show in the front row. I actually have a video I have to get her permission to post, but it's her singing along. My friend took a video of me on stage and panned, and she's singing every word and belting it out. And I want to post it because it just makes my heart so happy.
Oh my God.
That's so sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
it is like it makes sense to me. It is such a like intimate and vulnerable thing. Like the creation of these songs that are so deeply personal to you and your life experiences. Like it just feels organic that the people closest to you that you trust the most would just naturally kind of find their way into being a part of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Even with production and stuff like that, with writing, I think I just keeping your circle small. It's a nice thing. People, they might think it's lonely. They might think, oh, you're missing out on connections. But I don't know. I really like the team that I have. And I've, spent years figuring out what works for me. And I've never been so content, I feel like, with my circle, with my process, and the way that I make music.
I mean, it's incredible to see happening and like you've continued growing and you started at such a young age. Like it must feel it must be like so incredibly rewarding to have started so young. Like even if it wasn't a huge track when you were first talking singing about Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not a giant blockbuster for that track, but when you started there, I mean, I can only imagine how rewarding it feels to have grown so much and had life happen, really, to get to where you are now and to see
Thank
it be
you.
something greater than yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been cool. I think as I get older, as my frontal lobe develops, I learn to take time to actually feel that gratitude and, feel proud of myself. It's like, I used to put my accomplishments on a pedestal, and I think in really only the past year, I've learned to take the time to, even while I'm on stage and I'm finishing a song and people are applauding, I've learned to just stop all the thoughts that are in my head of, "Oh, I wish more people came. I wish important people came. I wish there were label representatives. I wish this, whatever." I've learned to just tune that out and think, I'm so grateful for the people here, and I'm so grateful that I'm here and that I get to do this. I feel like it's so cliche and it's like toxically positive, but it works. Even when you don't believe it, I'm very much the type. I used to just throw positivity into my life, even when I didn't fully believe it. And you trick your brain into thinking in a more positive way. I used to tell myself, even when I was at rock bottom, I would tell myself, I love my life. I'm so content. I'm glad I just get to wake up every day. And I would write notes on my mirror, actually, and they're still there from a couple years ago. But I don't know, just the past couple years, I've really trained myself to see life in a completely different way. And I don't know, man, I'm just grateful.
We are literally the
Yeah.
same person. It's freaking me out at this point because I'm like, I absolutely have had notes written on my mirror too,
No
especially
way.
when you're, going through it. Everybody has certain times in their life that are not as good as the others and
Mhm.
whatever's going on for you. Like, I've had those inspirational quotes and things that are just like, just keep going.
Mhm.
Like, if you can wake up another day, there's a reason for you to be here and keep pushing through. So I completely am aligned with the like, keep thinking of the good things. Like, if you want to
Exactly.
find bad things, like, seek and you shall find kind of thing,
Mhm.
you know? But if you focus on the good and can take a step back, like, I feel like that just attracts more good to you.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, there's a quote from To Kill a Mockingbird. My mom would kill me if she knew I was forgetting it, but the fact that I'm thinking of it at all, she'd be proud. But it's something like, we see what we look for and we hear what we listen for, or something like that. And I live my life by that. If you're looking for the bad, that's what
Mm-hmm.
you'll see. And if
Yep.
you're listening for the hate, that's what you're going to hear. And I think I've really learned to look for the good, and I find the good. Not that you should live in this idealist little bubble, but I think, just living your life looking for the good is a beautiful thing.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I love that as an entire concept, and something that I'd love to segue into, circling back around to your actual process, is something I'm super interested in now, because it sounds like you really have figured out the best way to do this, like from starting so young and kind of getting your footing in the industry and creating. What does actually creating a new song look like for you? I know you mentioned like sometimes things will just come to you and you'll get a melody and you'll, go put it on the phone really quickly, but could you just run us through what that looks like?
Yeah. So you'd think that it would be a seamless linear process since I've had years and years to perfect it, but it's definitely far from perfect. But I think I've learned a lot about myself and the way that I like to write, which is at least a good thing. But a lot of the time, it does start with a sporadic thought, a lyric that pops into my head right as I'm falling asleep, or, while I'm going through clothes at work or something like that. And I'll just jot it down. I bring my notebook everywhere I go. And I also, if it's a melody, I'll just, go on my voice memo thing and record it real quick. But usually I'm a lyrics first person, and usually my lyrics have a bit of a structure to them. Like when I wrote, oh my gosh, I was gonna give one away. I was gonna say something about a song that's far from out. But there's a certain song in particular that I'm thinking of where I wrote that at about 2 a.m. at rock bottom. Like rock bottom USA. That is where I was.
Rock bottom US.
It was, oh my gosh, it was almost like an out of body sort of experience. I wasn't thinking about, what word would rhyme? What do I want to say here? It just was pouring out of me and pouring out of me. And I was just scribbling and scribbling. And a lot of my favorite things end up being created that way, where I wasn't consciously thinking, like, what would be a witty thought? What would rhyme? I just let myself stream of consciousness right, and I'm not big on editing, and I think it's kind of fun. I like my I like my stuff to be super raw, and I'm also a believer in first thought, best thought. You know, if I was having this thought, unless it's really poorly written, usually I don't edit. And this one song, it's called Undertow. It's not going to be out for a little while. We're still kind of in the process of fine tuning it, but it is my favorite thing I've written so far. And I wrote it with my dad, and the way that I wrote it was first that manic stream of consciousness, writing at 2 a.m. when I was at rock bottom, just processing emotions that I'd yet to process. Then I sat on that for a little bit. I let it just kind of exist. I didn't really touch it again. And I hung out with my dad. He was playing this chord progression he had come up with. And I said, wait a second. And I just started singing the lyrics that I had written over it. And I was like, this is like what I heard in my head when I was writing this. Like, this is exactly what I wanted, the exact feel. Even when it came to writing a bridge, he started playing. So the initial verse, chorus, everything was in three. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then he starts playing an idea for the bridge. And all of a sudden he's going 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, that's crazy because I wrote a bridge and my bridge is in four. It was really weird. We almost, I think, I don't really know what I believe in, but I've had these weird moments of, especially people I'm close with, my friends, my family, where I'm like, we are painfully on the same wavelength, to the point where I'm a little creeped out. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how we were so aligned, but that was definitely one of those magical moments where I was like, everything you're doing is exactly what I was anticipating. And he's the mastermind, he's the brains, he's a piano prodigy. And I'm like, can you play something that's like, like, I rarely do I ever have the correct vocabulary to explain what I want. And even when I do write my own chords, it's like, hey, I like the shape of this, and I like the way this felt. So I think a lot of my songs are just the perfect, I don't know, the perfect combination of two people having similar ideas. And that's how Undertow was written. That's sort of how this song Please was written, which I also wrote with my dad. Not all of them are like that, but if I could have my way, they would all be written like that. I just love the magical little moments where you're sitting there thinking, how did that even happen?
It's so telepathic. Like
Yeah.
I've
It's
had
crazy.
had
It is.
those moments not in songwriting myself, but I've had those experiences where, you'll be thinking of somebody, like a friend that you haven't talked to in a while,
And
and
they
you're
just,
like,
oh,
I should text them. I haven't talked to them in a while. And then 10 minutes later, my phone goes off, and I'm like, that's scary.
Mhm.
How did you get in my brain? What?
Mhm. That's crazy. No, I love it.
Happens to me constantly, more often than I'd care to admit,
No,
but
same.
I love it.
I love it. You get chills. It's so cool.
My God.
so good.
So yeah, it's a chaotic process, but it's fun. It's funny, I'm not the type of person to ever just sit down and say, hey, I'm gonna write a song today. And I know a lot of people that are like that, and they're really hardworking songwriters. I'm the laziest songwriter you will ever meet. Like if I don't have the creativity in me, I'm not writing. Unless it's like, hey Sadie, we really need this, we have a deadline. But I'm a really lazy songwriter. And I honestly I hate to say it, but I do sit around and I wait for creativity. But that being said, I'm a quality over quantity person. I don't have a huge catalog of 200 songs that I could pull from, but the songs that I have written are songs that I'm like, I put every fiber of my being into. So I think it just depends on what kind of person you are. And I've realized that I don't know, I can't churn out a song, but I can spend 3 years crafting a song.
And I mean, I think they turn out more authentic to who you are at that
Thank
point
you.
because like I'm a firm believer in kind of what we touched on already, like if you force things, have you ever like absolutely tried to force things, whether it be a relationship or like sticking with a job that you weren't happy with or something like that? Like the more that you force it, it's like magnets. Like I feel like they repel, like it pushes away from you. So if you sit there and you're like, okay, gonna wake up and force myself to write this song today, I can imagine it doesn't flow.
A
Mhm.
100%. 100%. Even in the studio, I'm really fortunate to record in this lovely, beautiful studio. Shout out to Ed, my producer. And we recently have been trying to write together in the studio, which is sometimes out of my comfort zone, but it's something that I'm really excited to tap more into. And we've written 2 songs together so far, and I'm in love with them. I think they're such a cool collaboration of our sounds. But we had an event like that where we were working on this song and it's just not clicking and we're forcing it and forcing it and we can't figure out a melody, we can't figure out, we're just trying to force it, and then all of a sudden we're like, you want to go get lunch? And we just took a second, we got food. Turns out all I needed was chips and guac, and we were like, all right, let's crank out a song. And it was back, like we got our motivation and we got a little bit of inspiration from stepping away. I think that's something I've learned about myself, is that I cannot just keep my head down and keep working. The more I sit there and work and work and work, it's gonna be bad work.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I could agree with that. For me, it's taking a shower for some reason,
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where all my creative ideas come from. And then I have to like get out the shower quickly and then write it down or I forget.
Write it down.
That's where my
I love
creative
that.
ideas come from. I just random ideas too, just pop up in my head. And I'm like, oh, that's really neat. I could add that to this project and continue
Mhm.
doing it. But it's kind of awesome.
I feel like the shower is almost like where your brain is most shut off.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like if your brain is like preoccupied doing like actual tasks and like focused on stuff, it doesn't really have the time to have inspiration hit almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find honestly just any mindless task when I'm not, because then I'm not forcing it. I don't know. I think just any mindless task makes your mind work its best, which is a really odd thing. I find that when I'm running too. I don't listen to music when I run, and I've just never really been into it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I have a lot of interesting ideas when I run, and I think it's because A, sometimes I'm dying and I want my brain to work on overtime to distract me from the fact that I'm
Yeah.
dying. But I also think it's because I'm experiencing things, I'm out in nature, and my mind is a little bit calmer and susceptible to new ideas, which I think is it's fun. It's similar to the shower, it's similar to any mindless task.
One other thing that I wanted to touch on as well. We bounced all over the place and I love it. It's been such a great conversation. Talking about your performances. What can you tell us about attending one of your performances? Like, we know it's going to be a family affair. We know that we're going to pan, you're going to be singing, your mom's going to be singing right there with you. What does it look like?
Love that. So my performances, performing in general is my favorite part of the job. It's what I always knew I wanted to do. I wake up every day and I don't think, oh, I can't wait to make this TikTok, or even I don't even think, oh, I can't wait to write this song, but I think, oh, I can't wait to perform it live. So I think the biggest thing that I hope people take away from my performances is just my love for being there. I think it's where I'm most at home, as cliche as that sounds. And I think no two performances are very much alike, and that's something I've been criticized for by a handful of people, but it's something that I'm proud of. I'm never gonna sing the song the same way twice. I'm always gonna change some notes or change the phrasing or change the feel, or I'm gonna say, hey, let's double that solo. We're really rocking out. Like, let's keep going. The people love it. So I think every show is different in terms of the energy, but also in terms of what we're actually doing on stage. And I always try to vary up the covers. Usually I'll do a cover, especially if you haven't met me before, if you haven't met my music, you might be bored to death, like hearing, 8 songs you've never heard of before. So we'll throw in something fun. We've covered Pink Floyd. We just covered Blondie at my Philly show a month ago, and that was fun. But yeah, I think my shows have, I wouldn't say they're painfully high energy, but I think they're, I don't know, you can tell, I hope you can tell that there's a lot of passion behind what I'm doing. And I don't know, I hope people can connect with my music in a new way. I think listening on Spotify is cool and it's great, but I think hearing a song live is just so special. And I hope that people get that out of my live shows. I hope people really connect with the songs in a new way.
Yeah. I guess I was gonna kind of going off of that. Is there like a particular feeling that you want people to get from coming to experience you live, or is it just, hey, I made this song when I was at this point in my life, and I just hope that you can take something to kind of like resonate in your own space for it?
I think definitely the story is important, but I honestly think with the live shows, it's less about the story and it's more about the feeling. Like I want people to just get so caught up in the sonic of it. I think there's such a cool thing when you're at a show, whether it's a stadium or just a standing room venue, and you're just put in a trance by what's in front of you. And I just think that would be really cool for someone to go to my show and just be so locked into the music, locked into the performance, and especially the way that the players kind of interact with one another, musically and just as people. I think it's a really beautiful thing to go to a show and just be so locked in that you're in a trance. And whether or not you're listening to the lyrics, you're just, the whole atmosphere, I think, of live shows is what really thrills me.
Area I wanted to go is like there's a ton of artists whose like journeys ebb and flows along the way. What was, I guess, maybe that one song that you point to as like the defining factor? It's like, hey, I want to continue going in my music journey, or I really love this song and it just kind of like resonated with everyone who's listening to it. It was like very powerful.
I love that question. You're gonna kill me, but it's an unreleased song.
That's the second time this season that
It's
happened.
fine, it's fine.
No, but here's the thing. I will send it to you after because I've talked so much about this song. It's called Undertow. I want her to have a reputation before she's even out because I'm so, so proud of her. And if I'm being so real with you guys, at the beginning of 2024, I was sitting here on my floor in my little living room. I live with a guitarist. These are not all my guitars. But at the beginning of 2024, I was sitting on the floor of my living room thinking, I don't know if I should do music anymore because I was just so overwhelmed. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I wasn't happy with my life. I wasn't happy with anything. And I thought, you know what, it might just be easier if I just step away from it for a second. And then I get in the studio a couple months later and we record Undertow, my baby. And that moment of working on that song, seeing it come to life, seeing something I wrote, just, I don't know, be embellished and kind of brought up by my producer and my dad just lit up something in me to the point where I was like, okay, I'm back in. Like, I'm back in the game. Like, let's get back in the game. And it sounds so funny, but I do think that song, which I will send to you at Pinky Promise, that song, it's unlike anything I've ever made. And I haven't really heard anybody make something like this. I don't know how to classify it. it's a long song. It changes time signatures. It's just a weird song, but it's a really, really vulnerable song. And it proved to myself that I can write because for a while I was thinking I'm not very good at this. And I think it was one of the first times I was in the studio and actively thinking, wow, I made that and I'm proud of it. And I think what I was most proud of is the collaboration. Like seeing, okay, my dad's chord progression, my lyrics, my melody, and then all of these ideas my producer came in with, crazy ideas I never would have thought. He had me singing opera at one point. Like I
Wow.
was full on singing opera, and he has that just layered in the background, and it adds such a cool sound that I can't even explain. You wouldn't pick it out and think, oh, who's that opera singer? But it's just, it's in there. And I think once it's mixed and mastered, it's going to be really cool to hear all the individual parts. It's definitely the type of thing I want to make a breakdown video and show each individual track. But yeah, Undertow was that girl. She got me to believe in myself again, which is a crazy thing.
Yeah,
Was this, I mean, it sounds like one of these experiences where like it truly just came to you. Like literally like divine download to you of
yeah.
just like, here it is. Here's your present. Go perform this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was the one I was writing at 2 a.m. in my room thinking, I don't even know what I'm writing, but we'll make sense of it later. There are actually, it's like a 5.5 minute song. It's long by today's standards, but believe it or not, there are more lyrics that didn't even make it into the song. So maybe one day we'll get like a Taylor Swift 10-minute version.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say,
see,
or like even a variation track, like
exactly.
that would be
Well, that's
incredible.
actually that might be something that we do, which will be cool. But
Okay.
if it were up to me, which I guess it is, I would spill every little thing about this song because I'm
Yeah.
really, really excited about it. But yeah, it's probably not gonna be out till the summer. But it's called
That's not
Undertow, so
that
it kind of
long.
makes sense. It kind of makes sense though. Undertow, wait for the beach days.
Hmm.
Perfect. Is it gonna be a good one to listen to on the beach?
If you like to cry on the beach,
Okay. I will be prepared, Sadie. I'll be sitting there with a glass of wine just crying to
perfect,
this track on the beach. For
perfect.
you?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
My God.
Like sunset on the beach. You just need to be in your feels a little bit, you know.
Staring out onto the water, sobbing.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what Usman's gonna be doing. I can see him doing that.
Hey,
We'll
sometimes
all
you
go
gotta cry a little
together.
bit.
We'll all go
Exactly.
together. We'll
We
all cry
will.
together.
Listening party.
Collective cry on the beach. Yeah, we can
Honestly,
we can put flyers out, I think.
yeah, oh, yeah, that could be the release party. I mean, make it simple. Just come cry at the beach. Perfect.
I'm actually so open to that. Please set it up.
I think we're speaking it into existence. I think it needs to be a thing now.
Okay, sold.
I love that.
Usman's definitely gonna be there. He can't handle some of the
Good.
silly stuff that I say sometimes. I can tell, but it's okay.
He's shaking his head.
He's always shaking his head at me.
That's all right. You balance each other out.
That's the truth. I would say so.
Okay. Looking. Okay, I can't be serious. But looking ahead, where do you see your music career going? Like, what is that moment, I guess, in the future that you look back to or be in real time and say like, wow, I've made it.
So, near future, my goal is to just get on the road. I've always wanted to tour. Live shows are my favorite thing in the world, as I've said. And I would love my dream that I think about every night before I go to bed is getting an email like, "Hey, Maggie Rogers needs an opener. Do you want to open for like something like that?" You know, like one of my dream artists just needing an opener, and I step in and do the thing. But that would be my dream. Just opening for somebody's tour and getting my foot in the door in that case. Like, I think it's tough to just go out on tour on your own when you're a nobody without losing a ton of money and just playing to 7 people in the crowd. So I think having, a tour with someone else is a dream of mine. But if we're talking years and years down the road, festivals. I've actually never been to a music festival, which is really funny.
Oh, I was
I
gonna
know.
What
ask
the?
for like a favorite festival.
What do you
So,
do?
okay, I've never I've never been, and it's really odd. I've never thought to myself like, "Wow, I really want to go to that festival." I think though I've always for years thought I really want to play that festival. But I'm kind of a lame, borderline antisocial person sometimes. I love going to shows. I go to a lot of concerts. I do. But I've never been to I never even went to Made in America. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, like even the Philly stuff,
You get
like
all of them.
I've never
We can fix this for you. This isn't
wait, okay. It's settled then we have to. But yeah, part of you
absolutely.
is like, I don't know, it'd be kind of funny if the first festival I ever went to was one that I was playing. Like that would be kind of fun. That would be crazy. But yeah, I would love to do festivals. I would also love, this is the loftiest dream ever, but I always just had a dream of like collabing with the people that I once looked up to and seeing my role models become my peers. I think that's something everybody looks for
Yeah.
in any career. But I always think that would be such a cool thing. Like singing with Stevie Nicks, singing with, these people that I
We
looked up to.
are the same.
Mhm.
I have never, I think I've been to many, many concerts in my life. A lot of really, really good music. I think that the best show that I've ever been to, hands down, was Stevie Nicks. Seeing
Wow.
Stevie Nicks, I saw her at a concert. Gosh, this was last May. I saw her for the second time, and this was as part of, it was called Love and Life, and it was out in North Carolina. I went with a group of my girlfriends for one of their birthdays, and that was her own performance. So, like, her solo work versus the Fleetwood Mac stuff is a little bit different. And Edge of 17 has always been just like, I know. We're besties
Mhm.
now. This is so settled. Sorry, Usman. This is between us now.
I'm not even here. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not even here.
Let the girls
I'm
let
just, I'm just
Let
listening.
let the
This is
girlies
good.
go.
This is good.
Usman's also a girly in a sense.
I
He's an
love it.
This,
honorary
I
girly
am.
too.
I
But
love it.
I am. That's very
I
We'll
mean,
let you in the club.
yeah,
thank you.
you're in the girlies club as well. We can get you a wig as well, and you can fit
Yeah,
in with us.
Why I need a wig?
perfect.
But oh my gosh, Stevie Nicks doing, talk about a formative song. Like my dad actually introduced me to Edge of 17. And so that's been one of my favorite tracks since, I can remember. But seeing her was incredible. And then seeing Fleetwood Mac, it was pre-COVID. It must have been 2018 or 2019, long time ago. But that was the whole Fleetwood Mac experience over at the Wells Fargo Center.
That's great. Wait till you saw Christine.
Hmm.
My God,
Yes,
that's
before
crazy.
her passing, tremendous. I mean, absolutely
Mhm.
incredible. And Mick was on the drums and all of that. I mean, it was so, so good. And I
That's
mean, you
so
want to talk
cool.
about like rock stars that just genuinely love what they do and like have been touring their whole lives and are still out there. I'm like, Stevie Nicks is so youthful. Like, I feel like an old soul. I'm like, she feels younger in spirit than I do. Like the way
Wow.
that she's still, you've seen, I'm sure, like all of her
Mhm.
some of her old like videos on YouTube, I'll look up like the performances from back in the 70s when they were first starting up and like with the tambourine and like all of her
Mhm.
dancing is just so like electric. I don't even know how to describe it, but collaborating with her would be, oh my gosh.
Fingers crossed. Let's manifest it right now, everybody.
We
Let's just take a second.
manifestation circle for Sadie right now, Stevie Nicks collab. Stevie, if you're listening to this podcast, I
Seriously,
love you first and foremost.
I
Just
love you
want you to
too.
know that. Sadie loves you as well. And we'd love
Mhm.
to get a collab going on the books. Hearts,
Please.
please, please, and thank you.
Wait, hang on, hang on.
I can't wait.
There we go.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, we got to get you to do a couple spins and then it'll be perfect.
Let me get my black, my lace. We'll
Yes.
go all out. But yes,
Long lace dress, the tambourine, it's so perfect. And
that's
then
the dream.
the next question off of that is, I know you said you've never been to a festival, but you could name a couple that you'd like to maybe perform at. Could you tell us what those would be?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't really know the vibe of festivals. So
Mhm.
I'm purely judging it off of like the hype I hear about it. I mean, obviously, it would be so sick to be like, yeah, I'm playing Coachella. But I think there are a lot of smaller ones that I have friends playing or I've seen, people I know playing that seem really, really fun. Like one of them being Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
I know
Mhm.
the lineup just got released and it looked really, really good this year.
Yeah.
So
That's gonna be the
good.
one that I would like drop for you. You seem
Yeah.
like Lollapalooza,
Please.
and
Let's manifest it for next year.
Yes, absolutely.
Gov ball. It would be cool to go. Like, honestly, I feel like Made in America is not entirely my vibe. I don't know. It wasn't my vibe in high school as a festival goer, and I don't know if it's my vibe as a performer. I don't know. I also don't. I'm not super like familiar with the lineups, but I feel like my music. I don't know if it would suit it, but Gov Ball seems cool, and it would be cool to be somewhere close to home. You know, I feel like a lot of people growing up from Philly went to Gov Ball, and it would just be cool.
To be honest, the one that I was gonna say for you, that I have loved that I attended in 2019 was Bonnaroo. Bonnaroo is a really, really fun one. It just like sometimes you go to festivals and it's like you can tell that it's just because it's like the popular thing to do. Like the people there are just there for like the social media aesthetic-y kind of let me take my pictures at this festival kind of
Mhm.
thing, and they're not actually invested in it. But the people at Bonnaroo, genuinely, like everybody that I met, everybody like walks around high-fiving and like the whole like happy
Oh,
roo, like it's such a I think just the energy of it is so many like kind human beings that go that like I fully see you fitting in
wait,
there.
I love that.
Yeah,
I want.
check it
This
out.
is
I
like.
see you as a Bonnaroo girl for sure.
Wait, I love that. This is just a huge manifestation right now. If I could check some of these boxes off next year or the year after, that would be a dream. I'll
And
bring
then
my
we got to bring
tambourine.
you back on to tell us
Oh,
all
a tell
about it.
all.
Fill us
Oh,
in.
we'll do a tell all. Yeah.
Perfect.
If
We
myself,
need it.
yeah. If me and this tambourine can make it on the Bonnaroo stage, I will do a tell all. I would love that.
We would love to see that. That would be so perfect. So we're going to manifest that
Yes.
and get that in the books.
I
But
love this. I love.
yes. Well, one question that we always love to ask that kind of wraps up our conversations.
Mhm.
It's a two-parter, and people always have a little bit of difficulty with the second piece of it. So buckle up. I promise it's not a quiz or anything. Okay, piece one to this is what is one piece of advice that maybe you have been given in your career, in your life, that you think is good advice that you would pass along to somebody that's maybe wanting to follow in your footsteps, do what you are doing? And on the flip side of that, what would you say is a piece of advice that you've been given that you would advise people to stay away from and that you don't agree with?
I need to take a second for this one. I feel like the good advice is probably something that's come from my mom. And I think in terms of good advice, the best thing, it hasn't been explicitly spelled out, but I think in everything that my mom has taught me, especially when it comes to navigating music, it's been kind of just the rhetoric that good people will always win. Even if it's a slower way to success, or even if, you're not the flashiest and you're not this like, you know, there's not a spotlight on you at all times. I think my mom has instilled in me just the confidence that good people will always win. And if you are a good person, you will do good things and you'll win. I think it's hard a lot of the time in the music industry because there's so much going on and there's so much competitiveness, and there are genuine, like, people who genuinely do not want your best interest. Like, they don't want the best for you. And it's easy to get molded into a bad person or a really cunning person or someone who's out for themselves and only themselves, or someone who's not even entirely out for themselves, but just out for anti other people, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm not even speaking in full sentences, but it's
No,
easy to
it's
be
true.
like, yeah, it's easy to be like, well, I'm anti you and I'm anti you and I'm anti you. I don't even know if I'm pro me, but if I'm pushing you down, it makes me
Mhm.
happier. And I think my mom has instilled in me that good people will always win. It might take time, but being a good person and being a hardworking person will always get you where you want to be. And I'm believing that, and I'm letting that, take its course. Hopefully, it'll get me to Bonnaroo.
Oh,
But
yes.
in terms of bad advice, you're right. That is a hard one. I do think I've gotten a lot of bad advice though, and I think I'm good at sifting it out.
Mhm.
Um, Honestly, this is nothing groundbreaking, but I've been told a lot that TikTok is the music industry and that you need to put all your time, all your effort into TikTok. Or it doesn't even have to be TikTok, just some fleeting thing that I know is fleeting. And the reason as of late, I know it's fleeting is because my TikTok got hacked and I lost like 150,000 followers.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I think had I been pouring all of my heart and soul and my money into TikTok, I mean, I would have lost so much, but I think the best thing that I've sort of done for myself is dip a little bit into each thing. I put a lot of effort into my live shows. I put a lot into my production. I put a lot into my writing. I put a lot into just my day-to-day connections with people. And I think social media, not that it's an afterthought, but it's not something I concern myself with all that much. I do it on my own time. And I'm really content with that because then when I lose things like my 150,000 followers on TikTok, I'm not that devastated. I'm kind of just like, well, moving on, let's build it again. I've reported it like 12 times and they haven't even gotten back to me. So TikTok, if
No.
you're listening, I would love my account back. Now I know I just said I don't care.
Get it back for her.
Yeah.
Please. We're asking a lot in this podcast, but something will come of
We're
something
gonna
will come
make
of
it
it.
happen, okay?
But yeah, to synthesize all of that nonsense into one sentence, some of the worst advice I've gotten is to put all my eggs in one basket. I don't think you can ever do that. I mean, it's a saying for a reason. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think TikTok is just never the basket to put more than like one egg into. And I think, that's what I've done. And I've lost it and we're rebuilding it. Anybody who's listening, pretty please follow me on my new TikTok. I went from having 150,000 followers to having like 100. And you know what? I'm grateful for all my 100. And I think it'll be cool, to start from ground one again and, have followers that are interested in my original music. When I started my TikTok, it was 4 years ago, I think. I was posting a lot of covers. I was posting just random things. I had a video about bagels go viral. So I
Ooh,
think it'll be cool to see, people who are genuinely interested in my music. But that's the advice, I think. I think those are my good and my bad advice that I would say and note as important.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from like it's so impressive just speaking to you for this amount of time. Like you can tell how genuine you are, how much growth you've had since you started, and I fully believe that like the more and more that you do, like we'll be seeing you at Bonnaroo. We'll be seeing you at Gov Ball. We'll be seeing all of this from you very, very soon. So
Care.
thank you for sitting down with us today. And please, we love to give everybody a shameless plug on this show. Like, please tell everybody where they can follow you. We know we have some new stuff dropping, so please promote away.
Thank you so much. You can find me everywhere at Sadie Gust. It's SADIEGUST. And that's me. If you like what you're hearing, you should follow me and check out my music. And eventually you can hear my baby undertow.
We can't wait. I'm excited to
I
hear it.
same.
Can't
I'm
wait.
gonna send it. I'm gonna send it.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different, but I'm really excited about it.
Well, we know it'll be great.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
both.
thank you so
This
much
was
for joining.
lovely.
We had a great time. And thank you
Like we
so,
have
so
to hang
much.
out. We have to hang out.
Absolutely, you better believe it. Till next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Your Where With Who, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.